Welcome to the Doctor Connect, where we are connecting through inspiring stories and providing education and information around wellness, health, cancer, and medical technology. I'm your host, Dr. Ludmila Schaefer, medical oncologist broadcasting from Kansas City in the United States. All information discussed on this platform does not substitute your medical care. Guests on this platform sharing own stories, experiences, and conclusions. I would like to acknowledge Her Story channel to bring you the Doctor Connect. Her Story channel and movement started in New Zealand. And today I have a privilege, have three amazing guests joining me today. And the first guest, we have Dolores Pazino. Welcome, Dolores.
Thanks, Ludmila. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for reaching out. I appreciate that.
Well, this is a very exciting, and when we discussed with you initially, and we thought, okay, how we can make all of it better. And ultimately, even people divide into here is the wellness, here is our intuitive connection, and here is the health, and so many different aspects. But ultimately, wellness is living well. And I would like for you to share your secret. How do you do that? Can you please tell us where you're located and a little bit of your story?
Sure. Thanks, Ludmila. Well, I'm located in Encinitas, California, which is just north of San Diego. And I'm very blessed and privileged to live here. We look at where we end up in our lives. And, sometimes it's just about just trusting your intuition and going where you're led. And that's how I ended up coming from the East Coast 33 years ago to the West Coast and making a life for myself. So, it's an interesting pathway because a lot of times you don't realize what's really going on until you look back on your life and, as we all know, connecting the dots.
Yes.
And, I joke about this because, people said, how did you manage to come out to California? Well, I always say I escaped, but my life back east, which is true to some extent. I always felt I never really fit in back on the East Coast. And about 33 years ago, after having a really bad winter of living in Connecticut and having to dig the car out for the umpteenth time that year, I said I was over this. And in March of, I think it was 1988, I came out to California to visit a friend. And she said to me, you're going to be here a day and you're going to move. Well, pretty close that happened. I was here for, a week, and I decided by the end of the week that I was moving. So when you look at things way back when, 33 years ago, this predates the whole electronic technology that we have today. We had snail mail, email didn't even exist. And for me to make that happen as a nurse, I needed to get a license in California. And the good thing is that, nurses have reciprocity between states. So that means you take your boards in one state and then you could apply to each state and get a license. So, and I was told to get one in California was going to take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Well, much to my surprise, once I got back to Connecticut, I mailed that out in 2 weeks. I had a California nursing license in my hot little hands. So, you know what? It was like a sign I was supposed to go. And so I did. And it actually was the best thing that I could have ever done for myself because I feel like I belong here where I live now. And after being here well over 30 years, I pretty much established myself, have a whole network of friends. And yes, I still go visit back east, but I have no desire to move back at all. So
yeah.
I think the most important thing is just, trusting your instincts. And if you're led someplace, don't question it, just do it. People thought I was crazy for doing what I did, but as we know, sometimes you just have to put your fingers in your ears and go, la, 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 can't hear you, and do your own thing. So, because you're being true to yourself and true to your soul.
And that's where, mind comes and your mindset. And I can relate a lot to you because I felt like where I was born, I didn't belong there. And when I came, it actually serendipity happened. And I came to the United States, and now being here over 21 years, I relate very much. And that's
Sure.
why I want to ask you, what were your major fears, along the way? How did you actually set your mind into move forward, get your license, get everything passed? You have so many friends. I mean, you are so well known and likable and amazing, and
Thank you. That's an interesting thing because, I never doubted myself. Which was really kind of interesting. It's like you just know what you know. And it was just like something from deep within inside of me was just guiding me. And I just, continued to, follow the path that was laid out in front of me, even though I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know what I was going to do for a job. I didn't know, X, Y, and Z. And it all, I think what happens is that it's already there for us on an energetic level. We just have to take the steps to trust and just step into that instead of trying to figure it out, because there's really nothing to figure out. If you're on the path that you're supposed to be, the next steps are there if you stay in alignment with who you are and stay true to yourself.
Yeah, so I like that. Stay true to yourself, and it's already there for you. And that's what I would like to share with our audience. And Dr. Dolores, you are a doctorate in nursing, and you are scientist, and you go with the science. Do you believe anything else beyond? We all data driven.
Gosh, yes, Ludmilla. Yes, that is. Yes. Okay. I am going to say this because you know me and I could get away with this. I have my education and I'm Western medicine trained, but I play on the fringes of woo-woo. Okay. A lot of Western medicine trained physicians and healthcare providers, they are looking at scientific evidence-based, but there's a whole realm that is not even capable of being evidence-based yet, because we don't have the capability to measure any of that. Yeah. But yet we know it's true. And so I like to, I've always been this way ever since I was a youngster. It's like I'm very curious about anything that we can't see, like the invisible realm, intuitiveness, spirituality, connectedness to your inner beingness, because in anything that was how could I say it? Non-traditional, I was all over it because I really wanted to learn as much as I can about it and apply it to my life to, lead by example, so to say.
Can you take us maybe through one day or one story or one situation that
Oh, absolutely. I think the best thing I could do, because people always ask, how did you end up where you ended up in your career? And I know. And so it's like, well, I'm going to share the story then, because, sometimes we have those pivotal moments in our life where I call them serendipitous episodes, God moments, aha moments, whatever you want to label them. But, growing up in my household, and, once again, I'm going to go back to the thing of looking back in your life and seeing how the dots lined up, because this is a classic story. Believe it or not, I was on a pathway to become a concert clarinetist. And in the 11th hour, basically, I witnessed a miraculous healing of my father that shifted my whole perspective. So I'm going to backtrack even before that. It's like growing up in my household, I was an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person. Unfortunately, my parents didn't know what to do with that, because they, it was very difficult for them to, raising me was a challenge because I pushed all their buttons. And so in our household, my mom's, she was a daughter of a recovering alcoholic. So everything had to be structured and organized, and they all fit in little boxes so she could control that, including emotions. So we as children were not allowed to express our emotions. Now you say to somebody like myself, who's an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person, don't feel. and ignore it, it'll go away. Well, I was ignoring it and it wasn't going away. It was getting bigger. So I said to my mom, this is not working. And so what I did was I channeled my emotions into music, and I really excelled at that because I just threw all my emotions in. And, from like about fourth grade on, I just, was very proficient at clarinet, and I was a concert clarinetist and looking at opportunities of going to college to become a concert clarinetist. However, what was also happening in tandem at my childhood was that my dad had thrown his back out and needed to have back surgery in the mid-60s. And as we know, back in the 1960s, we didn't have any of the technology or the medications that we have currently. And he picked up a hospital-acquired infection. And so he was very, very sick. And I remember this clearly as day. He was in the hospital for 2 months. And finally, when I got to see him, he was a fraction of the man that I remembered. He did recover from that, and he was fine up until 1970. But when his immune system got compromised, he would start developing abscesses throughout his abdominal cavity, have to go into the hospital. He was in septic shock and have to have major surgery, be in the hospital for like 2 months at a time. And this would happen on a yearly basis every 12 months to 18 months. So my childhood was like an emotional roller coaster because I never knew if my father, when he went to the hospital, if he was ever going to come out alive. So by the fourth time that this happened, brings us up to 1976. Mm-hmm. And what had happened was at that time, the CAT scanner was developed. So they put my dad underneath the CAT scanner and they found where these infections were coming from. And they were coming from where he had his previous back surgery in 1966. So their solution was going to be that he was going to have major surgery, back surgery, which in 1976 was in its neophyte stages of development, spinal fusions, which came with a 50% risk of being paralyzed or dying, or you would be okay. And my mom was going to have nothing to do with this. So my mom started looking at alternative possibilities for my father and came across a gentleman by the name of Alex Holmes out of Cairo, Michigan. And it's kind of funny because I laugh about this now, but where she found out about him was in the National Enquirer. For people of our generation, that was like the rag of the time where, this was where you got all your information, basically. So I laugh about
that. No, yes.
But the thing is that, so this minister was known for being able to lay hands on people and they would heal. And he was actually very proficient at doing this and had been doing so for at least 20 years at that time. And he was being written up at the time because he helped his brother heal from leukemia. He didn't heal him, but was assistive in that. And so my mom was very curious about that and shared the subject with my father. And my father said, absolutely not, because my dad he should have been from Missouri, the show me state, because he needed evidence that something is going to happen. So my parents are in the hospital and, my father said, not unless the surgeon agrees. So my mother marches down to the nurse's station where the surgeon is. Surgeon's sitting writing his notes, and she makes the announcement to the doctor saying, Doctor, I'm thinking about having a spiritual healer come in to help my husband. Would that be okay? The surgeon's writing, looks up without missing a beat, said, sure, that's fine. So my mom, no, that gets better. My mom went back to the room where my dad was, shared this information. Not 10 minutes goes by. My dad agrees to that. My mom walks back out to the nurse's station where the surgeon is and makes the announcement to the surgeon saying, my husband agreed to have the spiritual healer come in. And the surgeon looked up at her and said, what are you talking about? I never agreed to that.
Oh, that was exactly.
That was the first God moment that set up the next part of what I'm going to tell you. A month later, Reverend Holmes appeared at our house with my two grandmothers were there and my siblings. I'm one of four. And Reverend Holmes noticed that my father had a leg length discrepancy, which we all knew. I don't know how he knew it because my dad was sitting. He didn't have he was barefoot. His shoes were nowhere in sight, but he said to my father's name was Joe. He said, Joe, put both your feet up. And sure enough, you could see the gap. I can't even show you a gap between, where one leg was shorter than the other. And then he said, put your feet down. And he started praying over my father. He touched his abdomen, touched the top of his head. Not 3 minutes went by. He said, please put your feet up. And I kid you not, they were both the same length. In that moment, my life changed forever. I knew that it was my life's mission to go into healthcare and to help people look at possibilities of healing in ways they never thought possible. So I was supposed to be the bridge person for that. My father was sobbing like a baby because him needed to have a witness that something was happening, and that was his indicator that something was happening. So my dad, received a little more work from the minister, and then was instructed to go to bed. He slept for over 24 hours, which is not uncommon, because when there's massive energy work going on within a person, that's how you sometimes need to process that. Yeah. So what happened a month later was that my dad went back to the hospital, had a repeat CAT scan. There was no evidence of the infection. My dad never had to have the back surgery. And my dad lived until age 80 and passed away about 9 years ago.
Oh, that is so powerful. This is definitely powerful. Thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
Right now, Dolores, you're speaking about this, and so, easy. It's like coming out of your chest, so simple. And as you were describing, I was actually picture the surgeon, your dad, and your father.
Oh, yeah.
Mom. There's so many things. And that's exactly where the power comes. And thank you so much, Dolores, for sharing this. Dr. Dolores, please, everyone, follow up. And Dr. Dolores definitely set you for not only as a doctorate in nursing and with the science, but also bridging a gap, how important to believe your mind and connect the dots. Thank you, Dolores.
Thank you, Ludmila. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And with that, we are going to move to the next speaker. And this is Dr. Connect Show. Thank you for watching and being with us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Dr. Connect. And with that, I would like to welcome Dan Gosling. Dan, welcome.
Dr. Schaefer, it is a pleasure to be with you. I will call you Ludmila, but I did want to address you as Dr. Schaefer.
Oh, please call me Ludmila. We are here connecting as a friends and with whole audience. And may I call you the chop saver guy? I just can't wait. Now we just heard Dr. Dolores' story, how important you believe in your serendipity and your mindset. And when I learn about you, we want to look not only from inside, but from outside. And one secret I want to share with you, that I've been putting lipstick and something on my lips since I was like early 20th. And a secret that I can't even speak if I don't have something like chapstick or lipstick in my mouth. So I want to hear your story. Please tell us your full name, where you located, and your story, and how that relates to our mindset and wellness.
Well, I have to say, Dolores' story was a tough one to follow, but I think mine is different, but there are certainly some connections with how I went from a trumpet player to the creator of a lip balm that seems to be, for many people, changing their lives. But it's, in terms of my life, my name is Dan Gosling, and I'm a professional trumpet player by trade. My college degrees are from the University of Illinois and Northwestern University, two very good schools of music. I started playing the trumpet when I was 10 years old, and I came from a musical family, and early on knew I wanted to play the trumpet for a living. So studied in college, moved to Indianapolis, Indiana, where I still live. My wife is also a professional violinist, and we have one son who is very artistic and very musical as well. But I was a happy trumpet player for the better part of 2 decades, playing a lot with the Indianapolis Symphony and the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra and all the top level organizations in the area.
That's amazing.
Did some teaching at the university level, Butler University and what have you. I was a member of the Indianapolis Symphony for on a temporary basis with a full-time contract. I'll try to make this brief, but I had a full contract. I had been freelancing for many, many years. So having a real contract with paid vacation, things like that for one season was wonderful. And then after 2 seasons and 3 seasons of these one-year contracts, they finally had to hold an audition, a worldwide, nationwide audition for the job that I was holding temporarily. And this was sort of my dream job, right? Because I've been playing with them for many, many years. And as it turns out, I did not win the job. A young man by the name of Tom Hooten, who is now principal trumpet of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, so he's really one of the great trumpet players in the world today, beat me, if you will. He won the position. So I was quite devastated for several weeks. And then one of my students that I used to teach, one of the students, a student that became a lifelong friend, came by the house and we were just hanging out, and he knew I was a little down, and we're just having a good time catching up. And he starts telling me how he treated a lip injury from a marching band accident with the herb arnica.
Okay.
Now we're talking about alternative medicine. We're talking about herb. And I knew about herbal things. I'd never heard of arnica. And it turns out it's a natural anti-inflammatory. And he told me about this almost miraculous healing of this bruise on his lips. And I had been journaling at the time, and suddenly my journal turned into a recipe book for this lip balm, this supercharged lip balm that I knew I was going to create, including arnica. And I knew I was going to market it to musicians, trumpet players, trombone players, clarinet players like Dolores were going to be in my market. And my wife thinks this is midlife crisis. She thinks I'm just suffering from post-audition stress syndrome, or, I was early 40s, so it kind of fit the bill. And I was just
exactly right, a period of charm.
Right. And she thought this was just going to pass. This would go away. But I took over the kitchen, and I've got my mixing bowls, and I've got little tinctures of herbs and lotions and creams and honey, and I'm just like
making all of it, just right. Exactly where you cook the food.
Right. She finally kicked me into the laundry room where I had my own little space and I wasn't in the way of the kitchen. But so this went on for about 2 months, and the first couple were just dreadful. They were terrible. They weren't anything you'd want to be in the same room with, let alone put on your lips. But I was my own guinea pig. And finally, after about 2 months, I came up with a formula that had arnica, things like shea butter. I was using avocado oil. I had white willow, which is where aspirin originally derived from. So I had really good stuff in there. And it smells good. I put a blend of citrus oils in there so it appealed to both men and women. And now I started passing this out to my friends, my professional colleague friends. And that every one of them said, what is this stuff? They weren't just being kind to me, like, oh, that's nice. They were like, where do I get more of this? This is amazing. I haven't used lip balm ever before, or I'm tired of Carmex and chapstick and others. This is truly amazing stuff. So that's how it all started. I found a manufacturer, got it on the market, started selling mainly through music stores and at musical events. But soon after, I got the attention of some dermatologists who were using it for their patients, for the ones who are on those severe, the very powerful drugs they use for severe acne.
Yeah, well, we're familiar with those. Yeah,
right, which can really dry out your lips. And they realized this is really useful for our patients. So then we started going to dermatology conventions. And tangentially, anybody with a medical condition, I mean, the product, it's a lip balm. It doesn't cure these diseases or anything like that, but it makes the side effects, especially if there's drying side effects, so much better to deal with, whether it's autoimmune or you're on medication or chemotherapy, which is why I'm really passionate about trying to find ways to connect more with people in the medical community to know about this product. So that's a very quick description of how this all happened.
Yeah, this is very powerful because, I work in the hospital, and obviously this is the first thing, anyone, not just in my field, not in oncology, but what people want, put something for my lips. And, we try to put something on the lips. And I want to go back for a minute. And, when that episode, and you said that, of course, your wife and I, we completely can relate how we think and we determine what's happening. But when you were there actually in a kitchen, you describe it so that you were doing and you came up and everything looked so nice as the end of product. And I'm sure you were, at some point, like, I got to feel strong. I got to make it. How did you actually set your mind into not giving up, go 2 months, do the product? What were going sort of through your thought process when you were doing right there in this recipe, right on the spot? Can you tell us, like, maybe one day or one moment or 1 hour or one episode?
Golly, it's interesting because in that initial, wow, this is a great idea, that really kept me going through those couple of months. And actually from the idea, having the idea and getting the product in the market took me about 7 months, which is an absurdly short amount of time to take an idea, someone who has no chemical background, doesn't know any real business background, and actually have a product on the market. So that was very powerful to just, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
So it's that determination that, right, carry idea, not giving up, stay with your thoughts, go with what you decided. And
I'm glad you're reminding me of this, because it's something I need to remember every day, because I've been at this for a while and it's not a household name yet. I'm competing against very large companies that, we all know who they are. And since those initial days is when I've had the tough days of do I keep going with this? And that's when, when doctors started noticing the product, I thought, okay, I really probably need to keep going with this. And more recently, I've gotten some testimonials from non-musicians that are truly heartfelt. One woman has been battling her autoimmune symptoms for 30 years. And the symptoms were so bad that not until she tried my product did she start to kind of walk back through these symptoms and get some clarity and some control over them.
Oh, so it's happening.
She said, your product has changed my life. You've literally saved my life. So it's those things that keep me going through the tough, the business things, the financing and the marketing and all those challenges that any entrepreneur faces. And so that's what I remember those early days of how much fun it was to create it. But now it's the people I need to serve, and how can I attract and find those people?
Yeah, so it's that sort of shift, or maybe a certain trajectory. We have idea, we carry idea, but then we enter in different phase. And now from your great idea, now you're serving people, you're serving the community, you actually helping a lot of people. And I know, like I mentioned earlier, I can't even speak if I don't have lip gloss or something, because this is really, and a lot of people then actually don't admit that they have it. Right. But every time, even, on airplane, I heard, before that, the husband or a male would ask, oh, do you have a chapstick? Right. And it's like all the time. I mean, it's happening. People just don't realize. So I think that's what we are learning, from you, that we are developing product, we have an idea, and now to be well, we maintain our mindset, we enter a different phase. And then that has been amazing experience. And now I'm picturing you, and I will be thinking for a while about how you actually determine and making the product. What are 3 tips you might want to give our audience about mindset and wellness related to what you do?
I do practice, certain mindfulness practices. I try to meditate every day. We try to eat well, exercise, all the things, but that everyone's told they should do. But I just would say don't ever dismiss those things. They're so important. On the days that I don't meditate, I feel the difference. On the days when I skip a meal or don't eat well, I feel the difference, especially as I get older. On the days that I either sleep, sometimes you can sleep too long. I think kind of sleeping on a regular schedule that works for your body is something that you ought to pay attention to. And I think sleep is getting more attention in the medical world as that third component of a healthy lifestyle. So those are just, that's not new to me. I didn't invent those things, of course, but there's certainly things that I practice and try to practice. And as far as the business, it's 24/7, and you kind of have to know that that's going to be the life of an entrepreneur, but you have to, at times, turn it off, compartmentalize it, go watch a movie, go spend some time with your family. Find those little breaks in the action, because when you're a solopreneur or you're a small company, those days are tough. Those days are tough.
They are. Thank you, Dan, so much. And this is so powerful. And that's why we are trying to bring one story at a time. And we are trying to bring also, sometimes like ladies more common, they speak about stories, so they share somewhere, with friends, but we don't really hear much about, men's story and how exactly it's happening and unique. And I think that's what the community need. That's what we need. And we are trying to bridge the gap between the science and actually what's happened with the mind, body, but also you are, as a solopreneur, you design everything yourself, you play trumpet. This is so powerful. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would love for you. This is Dan Gosling, the Chop Saver guy. Please connect. And with that, then if you would please stay with us, we will get together at the end of the hour. And thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And with that, I would like to tell you, this is the Dr. Connect show, and we are connecting. And this is our next guest, Brandt, author of Positive Vision. Welcome, Ken, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me here. It's really been fun listening to the first parts of the show. I'm impressed by my two predecessor guests, and I think it's interesting. It's an interesting coincidence that all of us are musicians in some degree. First a clarinet player, then a trumpet player, and I'm an amateur jazz trumpet player. I've led lots of parades and barbecues where we raise money for the hungry and homeless, and I just enjoy playing with other people. It's really fun.
Thank you so much for connecting the dots. I knew that you'll find the connection in it, and that's why not only we connecting through vision and then with the lips and with our mind, but we musicians. And I don't want to admit that I play piano only for a couple of years. And we will keep it as a secret. But what's most important, please tell us your full name, where you're located, and also share your story with us. We can't wait, Ken.
Thank you. Ken Brandt is my full name. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So I'm 14 hours ahead of you in terms of time zones.
You're our future.
Yes, sort of. And yet here we are at the same time. My wife and I we lived in New York, in the U.S., largely in New York most of our lives. We really loved that. But in 2006, we moved to Melbourne, and we thought we'd be here just a little while. And we've been here since then, and we love it here too. So we love both countries. We're citizens of both, and when the pandemic is finally over, we'll go back to traveling back and forth frequently. But for now, we're hiding out here.
Yeah.
My story is, which is what Positive Vision is really about, is I had a lot of fun stories about my life that people liked hearing over beers and coffees and stuff. And many of them had to do with different aspects of having poor vision. I have very poor eyesight. I've always had poor eyesight. I've had 6 eye operations, a detachment in each eye, a cataract operation in each eye, and 2 others. I was legally blind for many years. And I've had a lot of ups and downs due to the operations where things are better than they're worse, then they're better than they're worse. So I have sort of a perspective. And I thought, let me just pull all of that together, because there's a lot of stories that people would like if they like any kind of adventure, but there's also a bunch of stories that would maybe be helpful for some other people with poor vision, especially because a lot of people don't think about the advantages of poor vision. That's part of the book. Good vision is
author. Yeah, you wrote about it. Yes. Tell us.
Yeah. So good vision is clearly way better than poor vision. I'm not arguing that at all. Everybody should do everything they can to protect and help and improve their vision, whatever their doctors are suggesting. Eat right, exercise, all of those things.
Yeah.
But there are some advantages to poor eyesight, and you might as well enjoy them, laugh with them, and take advantage of them. Some things are. I'll give you one little tiny example, but there's millions.
Yeah, if you can share, the example or tip with us.
Yeah. So picture this: if you're looking at a beautiful scene, whether it's natural or man-made, so beautiful mountains or rivers or prairies or bridges or buildings or statues, like you're looking at this stuff and it's just beautiful. And suppose you have really good vision and you can also see not just what I just described, but you see, oh, wait a minute, there's a little bit of litter in front of that. There's a little bit of chipped paint. There's a little of this, little of that. Well, I and many other people with poor vision might not see that little stuff. So the whole thing is more beautiful. You look at people, you look at men and women, and, some people have some wrinkles, they have some scars. Well, I might not see that. Other people with poor vision might not see that. Everybody looks better. The world is truly a more beautiful place. And then many people, their vision gets a little bit worse as they get older. And that works out perfectly because some people get more wrinkles as they get older and you don't even notice. It's great. So that's just one of many little examples. You might as well enjoy them.
Yes, and I can relate to that because when I first got my glasses and I was driving and all of a sudden I realized that, now I see certain leaves, and now in the house the walls have a little bit more, changes in it, and it's just the color is different. And I thought, well, the other things were much better, and I just did not know about this. So this is very important, but, we know that with period of years, how people get frustrated when we can't see, like even when we can't find our glasses. Where is my glasses? Where is my glasses? We hear this all the time. How we can teach our audience, when they are in a moment and they are trying to pound in like family member who is next to them, where is my glasses? Where is my glasses? How we can reset our mind and just sort of step back and take your tips into that specific moment.
Well, part of, that specific moment,
you all focused.
You just have to pay more attention, but it reminds me a little bit of, like a little part of the book is also about actually learning to pay attention to your other senses a little more.
That's what I was
enjoy them. Take it. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's what I was looking for. Exactly what you said. Pay attention to the other senses. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, and that can be all kinds of stuff. It can be greater enjoyment. It can be saving your life. I give you a quick story. I used to live in an apartment in New York for many years where it was a walk-up apartment, no elevator. So you had to walk up 4 flights of stairs to get to my it was a little tiny studio apartment. Just one room with the bed and everything is in one room. So I wake up one morning, I look across this little room, and normally it was not a vision issue. Normally I could see the other wall easily, no problem, because it was so close, right? Couldn't see it at all. And I think to myself, wow, it sure is foggy in here. what was I thinking? What an idiot. I was not paying attention to my sense of smell, which I should have been doing. And I roll over and I go back to sleep. Seconds, maybe minutes later, I don't know, banging on the door. My neighbor's banging on the door going, fire, fire. So I wake up, get dressed faster than I've ever gotten dressed in my life before or since. My entire apartment is filled with smoke. I'm thinking, oh man, this building must be on fire. This is horrible. So I go outside. My neighbor's out on the, the fourth floor landing, and he's already woken everybody up. A firefighter, New York City firefighters, sprinting up the stairs. When you live on the fourth floor, you find out what kind of shape everybody you know is in, right? So most people are sort of a little out of breath. Some people are totally exhausted. Not this guy. This guy's, he's wearing heavy boots. He's carrying an axe. He's got an oxygen tank. He's got a heavy uniform. He's got a hat on. And he says, just like this, he goes, could you two guys give me a boost over the wall? I need to get to the other building. So I'm still very impressed. We go up one more flight. We're on the roof. We give him a boost over the wall to the building next door. And he was heavy. And then we go back to the back of the roof and we see what's going on. There's like an alleyway in back of the buildings, and the fire is pouring out of the building next door to us, making a U-turn, and all the smoke is coming into our building. Giant amounts of smoke. But we felt good because we're going, all right, good. It's not our building on fire. It's the next door building, which it was an arson. They had set the building on fire. So we think, all right, we're in pretty good shape. So then we go, all right, well, that's the back. Let's look out the front. So we're on the roof. We walk out to the front where the street is, and there's the whole fire department, so there's trucks, there's hoses, there's ladders, there's firemen, and there's the fire chief wearing a different color helmet, and he's got a bullhorn, and he yells up, you idiots, get off the roof and out of the building. Well, he had a good point there, So we go back downstairs. My neighbor goes out. I took a quick shower thinking, all right, I should take a shower before I go to work. And I thought everything was safe. But there was an example where you definitely should be paying attention to your other senses. My sense of smell could have saved me, and if it wasn't for my neighbor waking everybody up. So it's fun and potentially life-saving to pay attention to all that stuff.
Yeah, the other sense and other smell things that we not only can see, but we feel and we hear. And a lot of times we are paying attention only at the things what we don't have, but we actually have to pay attention to the things that we do have. And this is an excellent example. And Ken, I really, really appreciate for you joining us. And I would like to ask you, you were writing a book about vision. And, it's page after page, it's edition. I'm editing my book right now. It's a very meticulous process. What was the hardest time during all of this? Where did you feel, obstacle when you were writing book about vision? Did you feel like at some point, maybe?
Well, I'd answer in two parts. First, I did not want to write the book until after I retired. I'm retired now. Well, and that was because I spent my whole life not wanting to discuss my vision with anybody, really. Because I thought people would feel sorry for me if they found out how little I could see. And I thought it might be detrimental to my career. But now that I'm retired, I think there's a lot of stuff I could share that would, people would think would be fun, and it might help some people. So I waited till then. But I had never written a book before. I'd never done anything like that. I've written due to my work, I used to be an information security and cybersecurity manager and management consultant. I'd done tons of really the opposite of what you'd want in a book, a whole bunch of bullet points and plans and charts, and here's what you should do, and here's what the risks are, exactly what you don't want in a fun, exciting book. So I had to completely change the way I wrote, and the way I did that was I tried to write the way I tell stories that people liked.
Okay.
Doing it that way, and also reading out loud. Like I'd write something and it would make sense on paper, but then I realized, wait a minute, I would never say it that way. I need to, cut this sentence down to 3 sentences. I need to rearrange it. Like have it be the way you would talk. That helped me a lot. Also, I was in no rush. So I would write for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then I would take a week off. Then I would take 2 weeks off. Then I'd write some more. And in those breaks, I would think of new things to add to the book. I think of better ways to say it. I wasn't looking at it. I wasn't working on it. But in the back of my mind, I was working on it.
Yeah.
So
that teaches us our when we have something like that, very difficult, something happening into the audio, but we don't. So
the other thing that helps tremendously is having a great editor. So I was very lucky with that. So you want to do, I'll say 2 other things. One, having a great editor, but even before that, after I'd written it and reread it 5 billion times, 2 other things. I showed it to 10 friends, the draft, and asked them for cold, hard, honest feedback. And I got some great feedback. Some people were super copy writers where you realize if you're reading your own book 1 million times, you don't even notice that you have 3 words in a row that are the same. You just don't notice. Your eyes are looking at it and your mind is thinking what you want it to say. And then some people had sort of strategic advice. My favorite feedback actually was from my friend John, who the first time he read it, he actually printed it out. I had emailed it to him and marked it all up and then sent it back to me. And his first set of comments were, there were several stories in my book that include him. And his comments were all, that's me, I'm in the book. And I said, so I get his comment, I go, John, I know you're in the book. I wrote the book, but I was hoping you could have some suggestions. He goes, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. So, and he came back with some great suggestions, but it was, the first one I thought was hysterical. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope John listening you right now and thinking, oh, now Ken's speaking about me. And that's actually where the power comes. And I found it so important how, Ken, you said that, we sort of have to relate and we wait until the last moment when we share our story. But it's so important that we actually go ahead and share our story now. And that's where we began movement, and we want to make sure that we start with one person, one man at a time, and see if we can move that. And a lot of people will be relating, like a lot we did not share our stories. So thank you very much, Ken, for joining. And if you please stay with us for a moment, and I will bring other speakers.
Sounds great.
Welcome back. Yes, so happy to see all of you. What an exciting way to share and spread about the wellness and about the mindset. So we learned today, and from the beginning, when Dr. Dolores started, mention and combine science with intuition, and hear such a powerful story, and how Dan actually did go through his idea and design, and Ken taught us about, pay attention to the other senses and find a positive attitude in a poor vision. So right now, we have still 10 minutes, and I would like for each of you to see if we can share 3 tips with an audience about what we can relate. And I know one thing unite all of us, except me. I only play a couple of years piano. It's a music.
I think that counts.
Yeah, I think so too,
Yeah, I think we need to form a band here. So.
There you go.
We can actually establish the symphony. So, and I'm not sure if I can orchestrate, but this is amazing. So we will start with Dr. Dolores. Please share your 3 tips with our audience.
Thanks, Ludmilla. And I just want to, thank Ken and thank Dan for your information. I mean, amazing, totally amazing. And I've learned quite a bit. So thank you for sharing your experiences and your stories as well. 3 tips that I could offer the audience is just, trust that little voice inside yourself. It's always right, no matter what everybody else is saying around you. Number 2, believe in yourself. And lastly, just learn to love and have a relationship with yourself, because the longest relationship you're ever going to have in your life is the one you have with yourself.
I love it. I love it. Believe in yourself and love yourself, and how we go through life, and we always dedicate something all to others. We serve, we wake up for other people, and a lot of times we forget about ourselves. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Dolores. And Dan, would you please share your 3 tips? And it doesn't need to be about symphony or music.
Right. These are great questions. I'm thinking of so many things. Yes, I'm equally honored to be on this panel with Ken and Dolores. I think it was fate brought us together. I think our stories intermingle in interesting ways. The musical background certainly one of them. Paying attention to your other senses. I'll tell you, I wanted Chop Saver to both feel great and smell great, and I spent almost as much time on how it smelled as I did on the feeling of the product. I just paying attention to the senses means a lot to me. So pay attention is the first thing I wrote down, because the universe might show you a path, and the universe certainly showed me a path to being a musician, and that seemed very logical. And then when this event happened where I didn't win that audition and I had this idea, I realized, okay, I'm probably the perfect person to create a better lip balm. Someone who actually needs their lips for their livelihood. And yet the universe, that made sense. And then the fact that I made it the way I did, I never dreamed it would help the people that it's now helping. So I guess I would say pay attention to where you are and where you're really being led to, where you're really supposed to go, not the logical thing. The other thing would be everyone has a unique story, and don't be afraid to tell that story. And I would sort of dovetail on that. Your story can be reinvented. You can reinvent. You can be different people. You can have different careers. My son is just going to starting his career, but he's multi-talented, and I expect he will utilize all those talents. And maybe it's because he's seen his parents do many different things that I'm hoping he will see himself as being not just a musician or not just a designer or not just that he can do a myriad of things and do them very well.
Yeah, and this is so powerful, because a lot of times we go through life, we face certain situation, we set our goals. It's either goals for audition or license or graduation or finish the book or whatever our short-term goal or long-term goal. And we always think, okay, we reached to this point, and then all of a sudden we reach this point and things crashed. And I don't know how many people right now listen in the audience that things crashed, but things that I planned for myself, that's not how things happen. You're supposed to have this goal, but this way, achieved by that time. And then when you look back, no. And actually, I'm so grateful the way things happen, because I absolutely support and agree that it wouldn't be for that. Right now, your entire world probably would not hear. And I can't wait to try actually your product for me. That's a person that, once again, but so much that we have to relate and look back. So don't get disappointed when things crashed and things sort of face this difficult situation. Move forward. And definitely, Dan, you are such great example, not only to your child, but also to such big community And we love to hear your story and how it will benefit. And we are starting also move what's called his story. So that way we'll be more powerful. And just like Ken said, that it will be, we don't have to wait until retirement to do these things. And that's exactly what we are waiting. Or when we plan to travel, we think, okay, we're going to travel. And then, no, when I'm retired, that's what I'm going to do. But why not now?
Exactly. Yeah.
So with that, thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. So can you please share your 3 wisdom nuggets?
Well, at first, I'd like to say I liked everybody else's wisdom nuggets, and I want to try the lip balm too as a trumpeter. So we'll see how that goes.
I want one too.
Sure.
I'll take care of that. You all.
My 3 that I usually give are related to vision, but they're really applicable to everything. So I would say, first do everything, and this would apply to whatever medical thing you might be worried about. Do everything your doctor suggests, stay in good shape, sleep, eat right, do all of those things. But after that, after you get your eyes or whatever your situation is as good as it's going to get, then even if it's not so good, even if it's pretty poor, just relax. That's the way it's going to be. Get used to it. Don't let it stop you. Figure out what you want to do and give it a red hot go. Just go for it. Enjoy the fun of it, the humor of it, and the adventure of it. Just go for it. So you could probably roughly cut that up into 3 things. I'm not sure exactly how.
Yes, I like that very much, because we are sort of looking for tips, but how powerful it is, and it's so thoughtful. We determine in one situation, we get sort of narrow in one area, but how do we actually open up, and how do we open to ourselves, to our mind, to see what else out there, right?
And it's usually in those moments of silence or reflection.
Yep.
It's not in the doing. It's sometimes in just the observing when those things hit you. And I have to remind myself of that every single day.
And Dan, that is so true, because I think we spend so much time being active and what I call doing, that when we rob ourselves of the possibilities when we don't slow ourselves down and just go into being or mindful activity.
That, and also sometimes you have sort of interesting, inspirational, fun moments at times of laughter and joy, where all of a sudden you connect a couple different thoughts that you hadn't connected before.
Right. The vibration is higher, and those things happen in that higher plane, for sure.
Yeah, and it's actually very good point, Dolores, you brought up. We stand and we have to take time for ourselves for that 1 minute. And sometimes, like Dan said, we're in silence. If I tell right now for all of us, including audience, let's just stop the clock and make this 60-second silence. I bet like everybody will be gone. It's a hard time of focusing. And sometimes when this 60 seconds, it feels like an hour when we are waiting. So yeah, and also maybe find, I don't know if each of you related, like for me personally, if I am in the woods, in the forest, and I look at the round leaves, or like Dan said, certain meditation, I guess each of us has unique.
Well, and that's true, because the thing is like, I think the most important thing is that people need to find what their thing is. You know what I'm saying? For some people, it's going into nature. Some people, it's, spending time with their grandchildren. Some people, it's, having a pet. Some people, it's just, zoning out someplace and playing beautiful music. I mean, everybody, that's what makes each one of us so uniquely different. And it's important for us to explore and find out what is that particular thing that's going to, get us to that point.
Yeah.
It's not a one-stop shop.
Yes, thank you. That was amazing. And thank you very much for being with us on the Dr. Connect show. We are at the top of the hour. Please join and subscribe our YouTube channel and comment so you can either be featured on our show, be guest. And we are super excited to have you to join us. And thank you for watching and listening. And we are looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.